Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for bearing with us. So, as I was saying just earlier on, thank you for bearing with us. We were having some technical issues with sound, and I'm trusting that you can hear me. And I'm going to intentionally project a little bit louder just in case there's still a little bit of a gap there. So, just to formally welcome all of you, our esteemed audience and speakers, to our inaugural travel event themed around route to readiness for travel recovery. We wanted to create the space for travel marketers to engage with us on, and for us to also share themes that are defining and shaping shifts in this sector. By way of introduction, I'm Lena, and I head up strategy and operations for the travel sector in SSA. And once again, thank you for joining us. In attendance today, we have esteemed marketing executives from across the region and stakeholders from travel brands and agencies across the region, and as well as a series of thought leaders within Google who are at the forefront of driving travel recovery within the continent. So what I'm going to try and do today as we open up this forum is just to give you a perspective on what we're seeing high level on what has been happening throughout the region since COVID began. And as I was reflecting on some of the emerging trends we're seeing, I could not help but reflect on the fact that the last time I took a trip internationally was at the beginning of 2020 in January. I never would have expected that we would have spent over 2 years with travel restrictions and vaccine regulations and the many things that we've seen come out of the pandemic. But if we proceed to the next slide, I just wanted to give a perspective on the fact that we are seeing a paradigm shift across the global travel industry. And, you know, the COVID pandemic has had an unprecedented humanitarian challenge, and it has directly impacted travel among many of the consumer categories we observe. The pandemic has turbocharged the need for digital transformation, and the use of tech has leapfrogged 5 years in literally 5 months, with a significant increase in internet usage and search interest across many of the categories in travel. But with that, with this surge of this paradigm shift we are seeing, it also presents a unique opportunity for us as travel marketers. So if we go to the next slide, what does those opportunities look like? Well, at a high level as Google, we see the opportunity for us to evolve and innovate in a way that helps us to effectively meet customer needs. What does that mean? We're looking at ways we can give travel advertisers forward visibility so that you can plan for travel recovery. And a big focus of what we're going to do today is to give you a depth of insights into what we're seeing as opportunity areas across the region in terms of driving and taking advantage of the imminent demand that consumers are surfacing. And then if we go to the next slide, one of the key questions we ask ourselves is, how are we weathering the storm ahead? What is clear is that the storm is clearing and the skies look much clearer ahead. That forward visibility has become less uncertain. And the opportunity here today, we're going to be talking you through from the esteemed Googlers. We're going to share perspective with you today and are at the forefront of shaping travel growth across pillar markets in Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa, is to really empower you and equip you with confidence of where the opportunity sits. As Google, we are confident that the travel recovery is here. We are seeing queries revert back to pre-COVID levels. And it's interesting that we now have these terms of pre and post COVID. I know we are still in the recovery mode and we're not necessarily fully at post, but we are looking at the pre-COVID levels of queries as indicators of returning back to some level of normalcy in terms of consumer interest. And a lot of our teams today will be walking you through what we are observing there. So as we're thinking about clearer skies, what we want to cover today is really about helping you understand the new world of travel. What are some of the market insights and consumer behaviors we are seeing? What does that mean in terms of near-term and long-term opportunity for us as travel marketers in terms of capturing demand and also creating demand for the future? And then, of course, how can we as Google partner with you for success in this space? There's a lot of work we're already investing in terms of supporting travel recovery efforts. And there's more we are investing in this space to do for our travel marketers. So I'm absolutely excited for what we are going to be able to share with you in this forum, what we'll learn together in this forum. And without much ado, I'm going to hand over to our colleague, Solomon, who is our lead analyst on Travel Insights, and he's going to give you a perspective on what we are seeing in the industry. So with that, I thank you, and over to you, Solomon.
Thank you very much, Lina. And it's a great pleasure to speak with everyone today. My name is Solomon Awoshukmi. I'm analytical consultant at Google, and I work across our travel industry in the three key markets. And today, I'll be sharing some travel insights, which was derived from our own data, looking at search trends around travel in South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya. Some results from a survey which we carried out in the three key markets also. And um, okay. Um, and also some insights in from some third-party research. I'll just dive right in quickly. So, at the end of today's session, we hope that you would notice three key trends. The fact that travel is recovering, and according to a research done by Euromonitor, travel is expected to see 2x increase in revenue. For the search trends we are seeing on travel, we are seeing travel gearing up to close at a very great point by the end of year. A second thing we are also noticing is that okay, so the other thing we're also noticing is that consumer behavior across SSA is changing with new interest in domestic travel, staycations, intercontinental travel, interest in some new region, including like the Middle East, some things we're already used to, and what consumers are saying about areas that they would love to spend the holidays, beach and nature. All of this we'll double click on as we go on. And finally, we also notice that a lot of the travel buffs we have in region leverage. I mean, inspiration driven, right? Get a lot of inspiration online, which informs their behavior, and a lot of this inspiration comes from some of our products, Google and YouTube. and it will be important to see how this shapes um, our marketing strategy going forward. Let's dive right in. In SSA, um, we've noticed that travel will surpass pre-COVID-19 levels at 36% year on year, especially with Easter and holiday peaks driving the most traction, as seen in previous year. In the comment section, my colleagues will double click on what this trend looks like in each of our three key markets: South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya. Um, Currently, we notice that across the three key markets, Nigeria is driving, is expected to deliver the most demand. At the moment, Nigeria is delivering a 60% year on year growth for travel at the moment, just showing how demand on search has been growing this year versus pre COVID level. Also, we also noticed that across SSA, we are seeing travel demand from SSA to be in destinations in Europe, in Latin America, in Asia and Pacific, and for Europe alone, we're seeing tractions growing up to 121% year on year. However, we are still noticing a lot of interest in continent within Africa, and at the moment, in-country trips, in continent trip within Africa is growing at 57% year on year. Also, we also noticed that travelers interested in coming to sub-Saharan Africa are most likely visiting from Europe, and this is growing at an all-time high of um, 130% year on year. We're also seeing APAC at the back of that, growing at 69% year on year. Also, Africa intra-continental trip within the continent itself, also growing at a phenomenal rate of 62% year on year. And top countries that are driving a lot of this growth are mainly the United Kingdom, the United States, Germany, India, and a lot of the African states, as you will notice on the chart to my right. In fact, we are also seeing that most categories, speaking of accommodation, air travel, and tourist attractions and destination, are trending upward, as you will see in the chart. And this is looking at the trend since 2018 up until 2019, end of 2021. So, in addition to the travel demand we are seeing on search, we also carried out a survey leveraging the Google Consumer Survey, which ran from the 27th of January this year and closed on the 8th of February in South Africa. We also ran similar survey in Nigeria and Kenya. And following today's event, we'll be sharing a detailed report for each of the three markets. This is basically to help explore travel audiences behavior across the three key markets, especially looking at travel enthusiasts who have suggested that they will be traveling within the next 1 year. And I think one thing we will notice across board is that leisure travelers tend to plan ahead and also almost plan to travel all year round. It's a flat line for holidays and leisure seekers. However, there's recency bias where we look at how business travelers are looking to engage in travel. And one exciting insight is that it's important that looking at this new trend, or looking at this looking at the fact that holiday travelers are always, planning trips. You'll see on the chart shown on screen that a lot of the travelers have indicated that they're planning an holiday in the next 0 to 3 months, and this trend continues even till the 1 year and plus 1 year bracket. This shows that there is a need to be always on in our awareness and consideration strategy all year round to engage with this audience throughout the year. And for business travelers, we'll notice that they book closer to the time and have long-term plan for when travel will reopen dependent on the business situation. It's also important to be there when these travelers are planning their trips. Another key thing we would also notice is the fact that um, audience that took part in this survey have indicated that they are most likely um, they're most likely to participate in staycations and domestic trips within their country and also within the continent. For South Africa, as an example, we'll see on this chart that a lot of audience in this survey have suggested that they will be traveling within exploring South Africa in the next within the next 1 year. Right, this is just showing some of the like interesting trends we're now seeing around travel in region. And following at the back of that, you'll see a lot more interest in Africa, other parts of Africa. And as we go further into other session, you will see more of this show through. And also, with the increasing interest in domestic travel, we also begin to notice a decline in travel interest to some other region, including the US and Canada, as asserted to by the audiences that took part in this survey. Also, one other thing we tried to investigate through this survey was to show or explore travel trends by income level. And one of the exciting thing you would see on this chart is the fact that a lot of travel interest is split by earning power, and you would see that across board the trend around domestic travels remain across board regardless of income level. But we would also notice that why high income earners who earn from between 15,000 and above are looking to explore international travels. People who earn lower are also looking to heavily, engage in domestic travels and staycations. And looking towards the right, you would see how this breaks down. Also, on the next slide, we would notice that and travel enthusiasts that took part in this survey also alluded to the fact that as the plan for travel this year, the sort of incentive that will get them, engaging or traveling or taking part in a lot of the travel opportunities available. One of the major incentives they've really requested or spoken about is around deals and discounts. And also at the back of that, we'll see money back guarantee, flexible dates of issue, up until inspirational content. But a key insight here is the fact that we notice that among female respondents of this survey, a lot of them, a large percentage of them, are much more geared towards inspirational content. So inspirational content is one thing that a lot of the female respondents suggested would be important in influencing how they plan their next trip. While male respondents are most likely looking at money back guarantee as this period as they plan their next trip. So it's very interesting and very important for brands to actually inspire their consumers with the right mix of incentive during this period. Also, we found out that users who took part in the survey, um, we asked questions trying to understand how they hear or find out about travel opportunities and travel deals. And a lot of them also, suggested platforms, where they actually get this information. And you would notice that about 41% of the audiences that took part in the survey suggested that they get they hear about travel deals via Google search and YouTube. Also, looking at it from a perspective that a lot of these audiences are led by inspiration. And at the back of that, social media, meaning that a lot of people would travel to interesting places, take pictures, post them online, share them within their network, and people actually go online searching for this. And as you'll see in later sessions, you'll see what people are actually looking at. For example, on YouTube, what kind of content they are consuming, how their travel plans is being influenced by influencers on YouTube and on social media. Those are things we would also notice. And for inspiration, also, we also see that the Google search and YouTube platforms are very instrumental in travel enthusiasts' journey online. Also, following that, we also explored, what sort of activities users in South Africa are likely to explore as they're planning their travel over the next 1 year. And we noticed that beach visits to the beach, to somewhere in nature, to safari, constitute about 65% of the leading travel destination within South Africa, which I think is very which should, I think, should also help in terms of how we are looking to engage with consumers, understanding the perspective of how they're planning their travel going forward. Also as we surface travel opportunities to them. I think, in summary, it's I think we will notice that um, from the trend we are seeing, that travel has recovered, and going by multiple data sources, we would see that travel is expected to be way above 2019 level, meaning that it has actually recovered post COVID. And it's important that as brands we are consistent. We leverage consistency in our marketing plans to engage with users at the different periods of the year, especially leveraging the tentpole moments such as Easter and the holiday or summer travels. Also, it's important that we are efficient in the way we are engaging with them, understanding and leveraging the clear understanding of interests, like changing interests and destinations. And we are here to partner with you on this bit. Also, it's also important to leverage change in consumer behavior and be active participants um, um, in this space, leveraging our understanding of our audience and revising our offerings to appeal to our users using the right incentives. And I think finally, we've been able to see that travel buff use Google. And it's also important that our strategy is built to make sure that online we are winning. Exploring market potential on Google to reach the right audiences. Right now, I would like to pass the baton to my colleague, Tolulokwe Akinyele, who will take us through some additional insights specific to South Africa around how users are looking to explore travel going forward. Over to you, Tolu.
Thank you, Solomon. Hello, everyone. My name is Tolulokwe Kenyele, and I'm the Industry Manager for Travel in South Africa. Second. Okay. So, to add on to what Solomon has said, in South Africa, we see that travel demand is growing at 33% year on year. This is trending above pre-COVID levels. We have, in the graph, we have two lines. The red line, we can see what happens when we compare 2022 versus 2019. We see that there was a 17% year-on-year growth. However, what happens when we compare the immediate I suppose the immediate past, which would be 2021 versus 2022, we see that there's been an increase in 33%. There will be an increase by 33% year on year. What are some of the reasons for this? We know that the world is opening up. We know that people are becoming more comfortable with travel. We know that borders are opening up and flights are allowed to a lot more flights are allowed to be in the airspace. We know that people are actively now looking for adventures. People are looking for holidays. People are looking for retreats. People are looking for safari, like Solomon had said, and we also know people have started traveling for business. Now, what happens when we actually deep dive and we see that in South Africa, travel searches are projected to close at 25% year on year versus 2019. And this is building on the momentum of last year, 15% year on year. And when we look at the graph, we see that we have some peak moments throughout the year. So we know that Easter is one of the biggest peaks for travel, and then obviously the holiday period towards the end of the year. What happens during this time? More people are looking to go on holiday. Most people are looking to come into South Africa. Most people are looking to plan trips around their family. Most people are looking to plan adventures during these times. And then we see during the holiday peaks as well, as we saw in 2020, 2021, 2022, we see that this is increasing with people becoming a lot more comfortable to travel around the holiday period. Now, what are some of the top destinations that people, travelers in South Africa are looking to go to? Right on the right of this slide, we see that United Kingdom is one of the biggest countries that most people in South Africa are looking to visit, followed by South Africa, followed by United States, and then Zimbabwe and the UAE. However, when we look into the graph, we can see that Zimbabwe and the UAE are the fastest growing destinations in Africa, and they're growing at 98% and 39% year on year, respectively. Again, just to kind of quickly just identify a couple of peaks, we can see that the United Kingdom, of course, is peaked because it's the highest peak because that's one of the most popular destinations for South Africans that are looking to travel outbound. And this is followed by the United States, and then we can see the UAE. So we can see with the peaks, especially during the holiday period and towards the end of the year, that most people are looking to travel outbound from South Africa. Now, what happens when we actually look at what is happening and when we assess the people or the travelers looking to come into South Africa? We see that most people from the UK, the US, Germany, and Zimbabwe are looking to come into South Africa, and we can see this with the graph on the right of the slide. However, when we then deep dive into the graph where we have all the trends, we can see that at the end of last year, there was a spike because there was a major downtime in 2022, and towards last year with the vaccinations, with borders opening up, people started exploring traveling, people started searching, people started looking for destinations they could go to, with less restrictions, etc. So that explains the peak, which is kind of like in the red box. However, what has happened post um last year, we see that these peaks are actually rising, right? So more people are searching. Travel interest from other countries into South Africa has peaked, and it's continued to be on the rise. And more people are looking to come into South Africa to enjoying the privileges now they have in their various countries of traveling outbound. Okay, now people some of the top searches for South Africa users, and what do they ask Google? Solomon had spoken about, what are people looking for when they're searching, when they're looking for to book holidays, etc. We know that price is a factor. We know that money back guarantee is a factor. We know that discounts are a factor. We know inspiration is a factor, right? So what does this look like in regards to search and how they're actually searching for these terms? And for domestic flights, we see that there's a lot of cheap flights and cheapest flights. We see they're using a lot of search terms that resonates to the fact that they're looking for some form of discounts or some form of offer, right? So we see people searching for domestic flights. They're looking for cheap flights to Cape Town, cheapest flights. They're looking for mango flights. They're searching as well by airplane name, by airline names as well. And so we see that cheap and discounts is very, very important for domestic flights. Now, what happens when we move into international flight searches? We see a lot of flights to Zimbabwe because we know that's one of the most popular destinations people are traveling to from South Africa. However, we also see there's a recurrence in cheap flights, right? So we see cheap flights to Zimbabwe, we see cheap flights to Sydney, and just going through the list, we see flights to the USA, we see flights to Miami. So a lot of people are intentional and they know where they are going to, so they will search their offer directly in the search box, as opposed to more generic. They do generic searches, yes, but they're a lot more specific about the geography that they want to visit. Now, when we move on to domestic experiences, we see that people are searching for, Zanzibar packages. They're looking for holidays in South Africa. They're looking for restaurants in Stanton. Again, very, very specific searches, searching exactly for what they're looking for, to show that people are actually more intentional about how they plan their holidays and more intentional about how they actually action what they find online regarding their holidays. When we move to the last pillar, which is international experiences, we see that there's a lot of Zimbabwe, and this resonates to the fact that we already know that most people from South Africa are traveling to Zimbabwe. This could be because of the COVID. More people are exploring Africa because we know that this has been a rising trend. And some of the words we can see people are searching for are Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, Safari Lodge, Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, things to do, guided tours in Istanbul. Again, people are searching for the activities they want to do when they get to their country their destination country. They're a lot more intentional about the things they search for. Okay, so we spoke about the rise in travel. We've also spoken about what people are searching for. But how do we? But now we're going to deep dive as to what these people look like, right? And we see most travel enthusiasts in South Africa are people that are most likely to be very interested in beach bound. They like beach holidays, and this resonates as well with what Solomon had shared with us regarding most of the people that are looking for holidays, they're inspired by more beach content, right? We see that this beach-bound travelers make 62% of the total audience. Most of them are usually oriented toward white sand, big waves, and they desire vacations where they can swim, surf, and lounge in the sun. And waterfront holidays, hotels and resorts are very, very important to them. The next pillar will be family vacationers, right? They're parents who vacation with their kids. They seek travel opportunities, and they look for places that have accommodation that cater to their family. And they make 54% of the total audience. And they're very, very active about finding things like packaged holidays, all-inclusive holidays, and those holidays of that nature. Then the third bucket will be business travelers. Like we know, business is opening up. More people are traveling for business. We know that they tend to be a bit more immediate in the way they plan their holidays, and they tend to be more people that are actually working in the corporate environment. They tend to be white collar workers, professional in the professional space. They have office jobs. They're more in managerial positions, and they make 37% of the total audience. Now, the fourth pillar will be outdoor enthusiasts, right? And they make 63% of the total audience. They love nature and sports. They engage in outdoor activities. They love adventure. They like camping, hiking. They spend they spend weekends and vacations outdoors. And these are the profile of people that tend to travel, that tend to search for holidays, vacations, travel in South Africa, and this is the pillars in which they are categorized. Now, what are some of their top interests? We know that most people that search for travel brands, they tend to use words and search for content around Emirates, Disneyland Park, British Airways, Ukraine International, Koala.com, and they tend to be very, very specific. We can see there's a lot of airline interest, right? So they're interested in the airlines they fly, and they're also interested in the experiences that they find when they get to their destination. When it comes to tourist attractions, we see that most people are interested in Times Square, Walt Disney, Egyptian pyramids, Australian Zoo, Liberty, and Lightning. Again, very similar to the travel. They're very, very specific about what they're looking for when they are and what they're interested in when they are searching for their travel. And then when it comes to food, what kind of interests do they have in food? They have hamburgers, we have meat, we have vegetable, we have fruits, And when it comes to food, we see that 2.5% of them of travelers are most likely interested in hamburgers. And so these are some of the key interests pillared, and then deep dived and distilled into the various categories of what their interest in consists of. And then lastly, in this section, how can we reach them on Google? We know that 440,000% of them are male enthusiasts, and they range between the ages of 45 to 54 years of age. We know that 4 million of them are actually beach-bound travelers. And we know that 1 million of them are female fashionistas, and they age between 25 to 30. So hopefully we've been able to give some deep dive insights on travel in South Africa and what this looks like. And I will now hand over to my colleague Adim, who is the industry manager for travel in Nigeria. Thank you.
Specific to Nigeria, similar to what my colleague Tolu shared, and obviously Solomon as well. And just like Solomon alluded to in his section of the presentation, Nigeria definitely has a lot of tailwinds in terms of growth when we look at the growth trends for travel demand across Africa. So Nigeria travel demand is expected to grow at 64% year on year when compared to pre-COVID levels. And so this is comparing 2022 versus 2019. So we're really looking to accelerate growth in the travel space. Very excited for what this means for us as a travel industry and how we can actually work collaboratively to harness this growth. And when compared, year on year, so 2022 versus 2021, we're still growing at a healthy double digit of 26%. But I think it's quite phenomenal to see that there's just a lot of tailwinds around how travel is coming back into full gear in Nigeria. And so when we deep dive on the travel searches, it is actually projected to grow at an estimated 88% year-on-year growth, again, comparing it to 2019, which was really a pre-COVID level or pre-COVID year. Now, building on even last year's momentum when we actually grew 13% year-on-year, so it means that we're actually double digiting our growth projection from a travel search trends. And some of the immediate opportunities again that we've looked at in Solomon's section is really the Easter peaks and the holiday peaks. As Tolu earlier mentioned, borders are opening up, and as Nigerians, we definitely love to travel. And as I go into the details of what this means and how we're actually going about travel, it would obviously be great to see that as Nigerians are actually looking to travel, there are more and more locations that are either intra-country, intercontinental, and obviously our regular international destinations are still top of mind. And so we're really expecting that the Easter peaks would definitely help the search trends in 2022 and obviously our holiday peaks as well around the September to December period. I think as Nigerian, it's important to also just call out the fact that beyond the holidays, these are also peak periods for Nigerians looking to migrate to other countries. So there's a lot of travel demand, either migrating for school. So these are also February to April timelines around when people are looking to gain admissions into international university. September is another back to school period. So lots more people actually traveling out of the country. And so there's a lot more demand for ticket fares and travel in Nigeria. Looking at the top destination for Nigerians traveling abroad, obviously the US, the UK, Canada, as we know, these are top and major destinations for Nigerians traveling. But I think what is actually important to note here is that we have more of the top 10 countries that we have on the list. We have more African countries actually making the list. India is a very peculiar one, which is interesting to see that it's actually on the top 10 list where Nigerians are actually looking to travel to more and more. But it's interesting to see that we have South Africa at a 10, Ghana at a 10, and obviously Kenya and South Africa at 5s. Now, the thing to note here is that Ghana has always been, especially around the pre-COVID levels or time, a destination of choice for Africans, but more and more so due to the growing tourist attraction and the growing concerts and the way they've created festivities around the country in itself. So more and more Nigerians are actually looking to go here, to Ghana specifically, and obviously to Kenya. So it will be interesting to see how as travel organizations or OTAs were creating packages and packets around these specific destinations. And just looking at interest for inbound, so people looking to come into the country, we're seeing the usual countries like the US, UK, Germany, and Zimbabwe. Again, Ghana is on that list. Again, this means people either coming back to the country or looking to come from Ghana to Nigeria. India making the rise again at a 7. The UAE being a consistent 6 on that list for people looking to come in to Nigeria. As Tolu went through the top searches for South Africa, I'll definitely be doing the same for Nigeria, just giving a sense of what are people searching for. Some of the things that are noteworthy here is that as more and more people are looking to travel, bargains and deals and offers are always top of mind. Nigerians are very price sensitive. So when you start with international flight searches, top questions and top queries that we're seeing will be how much is a flight ticket in Nigeria, from Nigeria to Canada. So cost is top of mind, and so how we position those costs and those packages, and obviously even offer any kind of deals that allow a user pay over time. These would be interesting ways to really capture that audience or convert these queries into actual sales. Domestic travel flight searches, and I know that I'm straddling different pillars at the same time, or not chronologically, but I thought it was great to start with the international flight searches because of what is top of mind, which is cost and people looking for bargains. But really coming back to the beginning is looking at the domestic flight searches that we see in Nigeria. They're very specific around routes, and I think that's one thing to really call out, especially as we put our offers as travel companies to users. So very specific queries we're seeing beyond just airlines, but specific routes and unique routes as well. So Lagos to Owerri, these are regular routes that we see airlines currently offer. But when you see specific routes like Abuja to Ilorin, these are not high demand routes, but we're seeing more and more searches coming from this. So thinking about how we package the offer for domestic flight searches, it's important to note how users are actually thinking about it, or how users are actually speaking to Google about it. And then when it comes to domestic experiences, people are looking more and more to staycations. So we're actually seeing an increasing natural trend of people looking to do beach staycations, either in their existing city or looking to fly into a different city. More and more locations like these are coming up, especially in Abuja, in Calabar, in Ibadan, which is very interesting, and of course in Lagos. People are looking at short stay apartments in Lagos, in Abuja, with also like tourist attractions around them. So important to know that more and more people are opening up to domestic experiences as they fly locally. International experiences, again, it goes back to what I earlier said around international flight searches. People are still looking at cost as a big factor around how and why they travel. So how much is a ticket to Dubai from Nigeria, for example, is some of the queries that we're seeing. How much do hotels cost in California? Again, for someone like me who hasn't really traveled for a while, these are some of the things that I would be, searching or coming up as top of mind to say, hey, I'd like to know exactly what the cost of a tourist a tour package would be in a specific city. So being able or being present when these queries are asked by users and being able to respond to them and offering them solutions around this, I think would be great to do. And just speaking to what are some of their passion points, or basically what are some of these Nigerian travelers passionate about. Similar to the South African audience, for us, we see that business travelers are essentially on the rise. And we find that with business travelers, this represents 22% of the total audience from a travel audience standpoint in Nigeria. And we find that more and more borders and countries are opening up. For example, now Nigerians can travel to Dubai with the current Expo conference that happened. We had a lot more Nigerians actually flying into Dubai for that conference. So with business travel opening up and businesses now getting back to work mode, we see a lot more business travelers looking to make international or even domestic business trips. Beach-bound travelers represent actually 43% of the total audience. Most of these travelers are very they're oriented towards like the beach, the big waves, the tourist destinations. They're really looking for a vacation experience that is outside of the norm. I personally call it breaking free from the COVID funk. And then family vacation, as this is a bucket that I actually fall into, this represents 34% of the total audience. Again, to Solomon's insight earlier, you find that a lot of vacationers actually spend a longer time planning. So inspiration is a big deal around how they make their travel decisions, and we'll definitely come to speak to what that means and how, as travel businesses, we can solve for that to encourage or help the user along the way around making the decision for their travel destinations or for their travel plans. And then there's obviously the avid world news readers. This represents 29% of our total audience. They're very interested in what's happening nationally and internationally. Again, with COVID, people are very conscious around what the new rules and regulations are around travel, what the government of that country says, and how those laws and regulations are changing. These users are always very interested in, what's the latest and greatest in terms of news and how this affects their travel plans in general. And so they often read both online and offline about government policies, economics of those countries as well. And just before I really deep dive into what their top interests are, I think it would be safe and fair to just really call out the survey that Solomon actually made mention of. And I'm aware that this survey result will be shared broadly after the session. But it's important to say that this survey was carried out for a travel audience in Nigeria and in Kenya. But let me give the specific Nigeria summary. So the survey was actually carried out to respondents living in Nigeria. I think over 2,200 respondents took part in this survey. 34% of the responded plan to actually travel for a holiday within the next 12 months. So of the 2,200 people that we surveyed, 34% of them actually are actively planning to travel. And I guess I fall in that bucket as well. 52% are actually planning a business trip or business travel within the next 12 months as well. There are top two offerings that will encourage Nigerian travels to actually book a trip within the first year. And the first is deals and discounts. Again, going back to cost or price as top of mind. So Nigerians are actually very interested in what deals are available, what discounts are available, what are the payment plans and the bargain and the offerings or the bargain deals that actually available. And the second thing is personal health and safety information. So these are like really the top two dials that users in Nigeria, based on this survey, are very interested in. So basically, what are the health restrictions? How many COVID tests do I need to do? What does the country law require? Do I need to do a quarantine when I get into that country? Now, compared to the pre-COVID era, more Nigerians are actually now likely to travel by airplane, whether it's locally or internationally. And finally, 43% of all travel and leisure seekers in Nigeria earn about 250,000. That's $250,000 and above. So from the survey, we actually see that these people fall well within the low mid to high mid income earning economic class in Nigeria. Looking at our population in general, this is safe to say that more and more Nigerians are actually open to travel. Now, coming back to the slide, I'd like to just focus on what are some of their top interests based on the survey and based on all the insights we've been sharing. They are interested in brands, so travel brands like the airlines. Emirates is there as the top because as Nigerians, we've had a lot of uncertainty and back and forth with Emirates airline. As anyone who is Nigerian or who works in the travel space in Nigeria will definitely understand what I'm speaking about. But it's safe to say that Emirates can now fly in and out of, users can now use Emirates Airlines to fly in and out of Nigeria. So more and more people are actually searching for this. British Airways, United Airlines, Qatar, American Airlines. Airlines are like top of mind from an interest standpoint. Restaurants are also big for Nigerians who are looking to travel. McDonald's, Starbucks, Wendy's, KFC, Subway, and tourist attractions like Times Square, Egyptian pyramids, Universal Studios, Walt Disney. I guess again, I might be one of the people who have fed into the Walt Disney search queries. Finally, closing off by just speaking to what our travel audiences are watching and why. And it goes back to what Solomon said around inspiration. People are actually looking to somewhat relearn, unlearn, and find out new destinations and what they can actually do in these destinations, seeing that travel has opened up and the world is kind of different. Tayo Ayeni is one of the big go-to people when it comes to like travel inspiration. So you find more and more users making this decisions around, what to travel and what people are saying based on the experiences of a specific country. Seychelles is all the raves, and more, sea or ocean wide destinations within the continent have become like all the raves. So again, how we are solving for inspiration and not just the bottom of the funnel, which is really conversion, but just making sure that we fill the upper funnel around awareness, consideration, using inspiration as a tool would be very helpful here. And how can you reach them on Google? We know that family vacationers represents a potential 34% of that audience. You can potentially reach way over 1 million people, and avid world news readers represent 29% of that, which is about 1.5 million people. So looking at the platforms that again Solomon had alluded to, which was really leveraging search, leveraging video for inspiration, and of course display, just bringing it to life in terms of what the packages are, would be great ways to really just attract and reach travel audiences in Nigeria. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the trends in Nigeria. At this point, I'll hand over to my colleague Regina to take you on the trends for Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adim. Really interesting data. Hello, everybody. I'm really excited to be here with you all today. And I'm going to take you through the Kenya scenario with similar data. Very similarly, actually, we're seeing the same kind of trends that we've seen from my colleague Tolu and Adim in those two markets. In Kenya, on a year-on-year search interest for travel, we've seen 22% growth. And when you compare that with pre-COVID, it's at 20% higher. So really the appetite to travel, the interest or the intent to travel is just as high here as well. And again, when we look at the market, the year-on-year trends, really at 2022, by the end of this year, we will be higher than any other year. Similarly, we're seeing the Easter peaks and the end of year peaks. I know that in Kenya, our holidays have sort of been thrown off in terms of the local education system. Our holidays were completely thrown off, but we can still see those sort of end of year and Easter high travel periods holding, and we expect that to continue. So start preparing for the end of year rush. Just as I mentioned previously, you can see here the trends. Every sort of time there's a school holiday, we see that peak. We will remember that in Kenya, we also have the school holiday peaks for the other international systems, and those are also driving that sort of continued trend that we had even before COVID. When you look at the Kenyans looking to travel, the primary markets, which is a shift from before COVID, the most interest in travel now is to the UAE, whereas in the past it was the US, the UK, and so on. But now there's a higher interest to the travel to the UAE. Speaking to my friends and colleagues at the Kenya Tourism Board, we know that there's been the Dubai Expo, so very similar to what Adim mentioned in Nigeria, with the people traveling because of the Expo and being interested in traveling to the UAE because of the Expo. But on top of that, we have a shorter flight time to Dubai. It's 5 hours as opposed to your 8 hours to Europe, for instance. And also we saw a trend as we were coming out of COVID, the Dubai government and the Emirates Airlines seemed to be just readier to accept Kenyans, and the process and the systems to travel into the country were just easier. And so there was anyone who wanted to travel out of the country for that holiday, UAE then became a really easy destination to get to. But then still key markets like the US and the UK remain. And there is a very interesting peak there for India. So we do have a lot of India community, a huge Indian community in Kenya, and a lot of therefore cross travel between those two countries. So not too surprising. And then of course there's the regional travel with Tanzania and South Africa featuring there. When you look at the interest from outside of India into Kenya, UK, US still leading, always have been very key markets for us in terms of inbound traffic. And then, of course, Germany, India there again, Italy, France. So that hasn't shifted too much pre and post-COVID, and we expect that to grow. The interest as we come to the end of the year, like I said, is really increasing. And so for now, it's really to start thinking about who are these people? How do we start to talk to them? When we look at and there's an error on that slide, it should read Kenyans, but when you look at what Kenyans are asking Google about travel, and we really do have an interest in the domestic traveler, because that's really the vertical or the sub-vertical within travel that opened up first and has remained open since. So when you look at Kenyans, what are they searching for? Flights has become a big search to Mombasa, well, generally to the coastal area, within the country. But also the interesting thing, and you heard Adim also refer to this, is cheap. People want value for money, cheap flights, cheap accommodations. And I'll also make reference to the research that we will be sharing after this. The two key motivators for the Kenyans. So you heard Adim talk about deals and discounts and health concerns for the Nigerians. For the Kenyans, deals and discounts still features, and you can see the highlighted bits in red there. So cheap flights, some sort of deal, very, very important. But for Kenyans, the second thing is guaranteed money back. So should I pay for a ticket or a holiday and then something happens that is possibly COVID related that causes me not to travel, I want to know that I can get my money back. I want to know that the person that I'm booking with or the package that I'm buying is flexible enough that I can get my money back. And when we look at the experiences that they're looking at, a lot of Mara rentals in Nairobi, so staycations. So people are also looking at just within Nairobi, what can I do? People from outside Nairobi coming into Nairobi. People are now even interested in things, cuisine, like French restaurants in Nairobi. So experiences are very important, not just the destination. So as we plan our travel communications, to start thinking about those things. You saw that Dubai was a huge travel destination interest for Kenyans, and they're looking for what experiences when I'm in Dubai can I get, like the Dubai Mall. They're looking at companies or tour organizations to get them to their destinations, things to do in Dubai. So very much at the heart of our travel communications and our travel planning is not just the destination, but the experiences and the opportunities to experience those destinations, be they domestic or international. So in building our audiences and in trying to communicate and to understand who are these people that we need to communicate to, we do look at these factors like you saw in the previous sections. In Kenya, these people are more likely, 1.5 times more likely to be avid investors. So people who are interested in investment, how to invest their money, how to make their money work for them, what are the money market trends, and so on. Beach-bound features not just for SSA, for Africa, but beyond. Beach-bound travelers is a big category. For the Kenyan traveler, it's 1.8 times, so really significantly likely to be a beach-bound traveler. We're seeing 30-minute chef, people who are likely to be 30-minute chefs. So interested in culinary space. They want to cook, they want to, experience interesting dishes and explore their palates. Nightlife enthusiasts, 1.9 times more likely. Family vacationers, like you saw, Adim, your people, we are here in Kenya as well. So family vacationers is a big segment as well. So you would take this data and start to think, what kind of experiences would we offer people who are in these kinds of buckets? If it's a beach-bound traveler, if it's a culinary experience person, maybe we're offering them experiences with food, restaurants in the country, and so on and so forth. So some of their top interests for Kenya. So when we looked at this, I immediately looked at, when you look at the travel brands, Emirates, not a surprise. It's a huge connecting airline for Kenyans to the rest of the world and the rest of the world into Kenya. Kenya Airways, of course, is a national carrier. But the third one, Ukraine International, was interesting. At the time we pulled this data, this was in February, at the beginning of February. And yet, the conflict in the Ukraine only kicked off at the end of February, on the 24th of February. So this was of interest. And when you get data like this, it's good to interrogate and ask the questions. So, of course, I reached out to my friends at the Kenya Tourism Board. And the first thing is that Kenya has always had travelers coming in from the Ukraine. And specifically, we've had a lot of packages from the Ukraine straight to Mombasa, which is by the beach. And so already there was that sort of interest, but with the conflict, we've seen that interest increase because we also had Ukrainians in Kenya who were trying to get back home, people, trying to find a way home and trying to just find out, so these people, how will they go? So that interest, you may find, has sort of increased towards the end of February, but the interest was always there because we always had that tourism inflow anyway. In terms of food, it's interesting as a communication tool to help you understand what are some of the culinary experiences that we can, offer to the visitors coming and the visitors touring locally. And these are the sort of things that would be of interest to them. Also for Kenyans going abroad, if we're driving tourism outflows, these are the kinds of things that we would be wanting to tell them that is available. And when we look at the auto brands, it's really high-end vehicles. I think Kenyans aspire. So a lot of aspirational brands. And how do you then tie this to that luxury experience or that value for money experience that a traveler would be looking for? Similar to what Adam took you through, it's also good to overlay what are their interests into what you're offering, because the more it resonates with me as a user, then the more likely I am to convert or to have interest in what you're offering. So Jalango is a huge presenter here locally on radio, but also transcending to other sort of mediums and forums. He's in events and entertainment. So his channel has a very high index to the potential Kenyan traveler. There's other interest in Dubai specifically. If you look at that second row, there's a lot of interest in Dubai in terms of just Dubai's channels and content around that. So Kenyans are really interested to go and see things like the Burj Khalifa, and there's a lot of experiences in Dubai. And then at the third row there, you have other personality, Eve. So she's got a huge following as well, and people who watch her channel tend to be of, they're interested in travel. So use that to overlay into the kind of audiences and kind of people that we would be interested in attracting. And how can we reach them on Google? So a lot of them, so on Google, you can build various types of audiences, and we have some ready built audiences that you can tap into, like the ones we see here, but you can also sort of import some of your own audiences from your Google Analytics and really enrich the way you're targeting and communicating to your potential customers or visitors. So nightlife enthusiasts, news enthusiasts, and entertainment news specifically enthusiasts. So those are some of the buckets that we already have, that we've seen a propensity for these kinds of people with travel, but we would then be able to also build out more audiences for you. So Tolu, Adim, and I have taken you through some of the user data and the user trends that we see in our markets. I'm going to now hand over to my colleague Mark in South Africa, who is based in Dublin. He's our sales manager for large customer sales for Sub-Saharan Africa. And Mark is going to take you through how to capture this demand that we've just talked about. Mark.
Thank you very much, Regina. Very, very interesting trends and insights from Kenya. Afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark, and I'm here to talk to you about the modern search structure. The modern search structure, in my opinion, is the single best way to take full advantage of Google's automated solutions. Now, thanks to machine learning, search has changed. Just a few years ago, search was pretty simple. You chose keywords and specified bids based on the likelihood that a keyword would convert on a last click, desktop, same day basis. Then came along mobile devices. This created more signals that marketers needed to account for, like device type, time, and location. Today, we can track more of these signals than ever before. Signals like language, your operating system, conversion path, device type, and so on. And that's just the signals. You also need to worry about campaign types, ad extensions, settings, and creative optimization. Now, this additional data creates more complexity, but it also creates more opportunity. Now, the opportunity lies in leveraging the improvements made in smart bidding, broad match, and layering a simplified account structure to empower these three areas, or these two areas rather, to maximize your performance and improve your efficiency. Now, let's talk about smart bidding first. Now, why doesn't smart bidding need a granular account structure? I think that's the question. Well, number one, smart bidding sets unique bids for each individual auction and query based on your goals and the conversion likelihood. So manual or API bidding optimizes at keyword level, not for each query or auction. So the structure of exhaustive keyword lists used to be critical when manually optimizing at scale. But granular keyword segmentation is unnecessary, as smart bidding uses auction or real-time bidding and factors various signals beyond the keywords and queries you've entered. Now, number two, smart bidding uses a combination of signals per auction. All signals are measured and optimized per auction and query, including thousands of signals exclusive to smart bidding. Again, manual or API bidding can perform some basic cross-signal optimization, but at most, you're looking at 2 to 3 layers deep. But only through a complex and fragmented account structure can this be achieved. So granular campaigns or ad group segmentation by dimension is unnecessary, as smart bidding already evaluates a combination of unique signals per auction. If we look at point number 3, smart bidding will learn how to optimize bids for each auction with conversion history from all your accounts, all your campaigns in your account. This means that even campaigns that are new or have low conversion volume will benefit from smart bidding. Now, it's worth taking note that smart bidding will work with any account structure, and there's no perfect account structure to boost its bidding optimization. Smart bidding will use data from all your campaigns to set unique bids per auction, regardless of how your account is segmented. Now, with that said, a simpler structure will bring increased efficiency, and I think that's what's key. Now, let's talk about how you should go about simplifying. Now, note, there's not one size fits all approach, but the recommendations I'm going to lay out are advanced best practices for accounts already running or willing to run smart bidding. Now, best-in-class advertisers are automating and simplifying, moving from a world of manual management to a simpler, automated one without sacrificing performance. The machine learning is at the center of this, but account structure really makes it happen. Now, let's look at some fundamentals. Now, smart bidding is objective-based bidding. Advertisers should be basing their campaigns according to business objectives, not artificially around match types, for example. And depending on the goals, that will dictate the campaign's bid strategy, whether target return on ad spend or target cost per acquisition, for example. Theming ad groups is still important. Technically, smart bidding can work if you mix themes together in an ad group, as long as the target is the same. However, creating relevance is important. So a well-themed ad group is ideal. Grouping theme keywords together also helps better understand which keywords to select and the best options to serve. And lastly, machine learning algorithm is only as good as what you give it to learn. Make sure your accounts are set up for success by measuring and reporting what really matters. Now, consolidate traffic into fewer and larger ad groups. Move from what you see on the left to a structure that is more similar to what you see on the right, where campaigns are consolidated based on objective. A good rule of thumb is to think of having one URL per ad group, as opposed to having the same URL in multiple ad groups due to segmentation, like match type. Now, in case it is difficult to consolidate some campaigns, portfolio bidding can be an alternative solution. Portfolio bidding helps bundle campaigns with similar performance targets if you're not ready to consolidate your campaigns yet. It's important to remove unneeded traffic segmentations. With manual bidding, it may have been necessary to have separate campaigns for different match types, devices, audiences, etc. However, with smart bidding, it's possible to collapse the structure and still see the same or actually better performance. Query level bidding negates the need for you to have match type specific ad groups or campaigns. It's not necessary to break out campaigns by device. If your mobile site has a different CPA, you should use the target CPA modifier instead of creating a separate campaign. And first-party audience lists, when applied, are one signal out of many used for smart bidding algorithms. Another important component of this consolidation step is to clean up unnecessary excess across your accounts. Now, here, use OptiScore's basic hygiene recommendations, such as removing conflicting negative keywords or removing redundant keywords. It's also safe to remove misspellings, plurals, and stemmings, even if you feel the correct spelling and the misspelling performs differently. It's still okay to keep just the correct spelling, since it will match the other misspelling queries, and smart bidding will take care of adjusting bids accordingly. A good check is to input a misspelling into google.com. If the search result page gives you "did you mean" or "showing results for" message, that indicates that we consider the term to be a misspelling, and it's not necessary to have a separate keyword. Now, by the way, these are good practices for all advertisers, regardless of whether you're adopting smart bidding. Now, the goal is to move to larger ad groups and campaigns. A good rule of thumb is to think of having one URL per ad group as opposed to having the same URL in multiple groups due to segmentation. This doesn't work for everyone, as I've mentioned, but it's still good guidance for most. Some of our automated features do have volume thresholds, like the performance asset label for responsive search ads. This helps you to maximize your search ads or optimize your search ads. Now, this only shows if you have 5,000 impressions per month within an ad group. So just something to keep in mind, volume is important. And again, in case it is difficult to consolidate campaigns, portfolio bidding can be an alternate solution. Portfolio bidding helps bundle campaigns with similar performance targets if you're not yet ready to consolidate your campaigns. Now let's touch on broad match. It's important to note that broad match has come a long way. We've improved the relevance of keyword variations, which match type queries, which matches queries the same as exact and phrase match, and also includes additional related searches. Broad match now includes relevant signals like landing page and user signals such as location, ensuring the query matches your business. This works exceptionally well with smart bidding, feeding in all available signals while driving efficiency. Broad match now matches holistically with an improved understanding of keyword intent based on all keywords in an ad group. With all these quality improvements, there is no need to have excessive amounts of keywords in your account. Now, we have to adapt to user search behavior in order to capture demand efficiently, especially if you consider how users are searching and taking advantage of new queries. I mean, 10 to 15% of daily search queries are brand new and have never been searched before. Voice search is also changing how users are searching. Broad match allows you to take full advantage of both of these trends. Now, on average, advertisers who change their phrase and exact keywords to broad can see 25% more conversions in target CPA campaigns and 12% more conversion value in target ROAS campaigns while meeting targets. Now, this is based on an internal Google study, which was ran during September 2020. And 4 key points about broad match. Broad match can increase efficiency. It saves you time. It helps you to expand your search reach and coverage. And it maintains the high degree of relevance that search brings. There you have it. In order for you to take full advantage of a more automated Google Ads experience, make sure you leverage smart bidding, you maximize broad match, and you adopt a simplified account structure for better performance, which saves you time, allowing you and your team to focus on more strategic and value-added tasks. So thank you, and with that, I'll hand you over to Svenja, who will take you through how to create demand.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Mark, for taking us through search. I'm Svenja, the Travel Account Manager for Sub-Saharan Africa, and I will be guiding you through how you can create demand, which is just as crucial as capturing the existing demand. And this is key for travel clients in 2022, because over-focusing on pent-up demand and ignoring the longer-term strategy is detrimental. That's because we can see that booking intents are still very much focused. And I just got to know that you can't see my screen. 1 second, please. I will update that just now. Here. I hope it works now. Yes, okay, perfect. So, as I just said, over-focusing on pent-up demand and ignoring the longer-term strategy is detrimental. That is because we can see that booking intents are still very much focused on long-term, with 76% planning to book in the next 4 to 12 plus months versus 24% who plan to book in the immediate future. And branding plays such a critical part in achieving your strategic objectives here, because all of these people who are looking at longer term booking or are still unsure and need convincing are going to be the audiences who end up enabling you to grow your market share over that long term. In order to speak to those people effectively, we know that building trust is key. It always has been over and above price. And even though we heard in the earlier slides that price is important for people, when it comes down to actually booking, even in ordinary times, we know consumers prioritize booking travel with low risk familiar brands that they know. And when we ask why they booked a trip with a particular company, consumers answered that it was the trust in the quality of the company in the end over the price that drove them to convert. We ran the same survey questions from 2019 and 2021, and we found some interesting results. Actually, trust prevails as the most critical driver of booking, but it has lost some ground through research. With so many consumers worried about cancellation refunds, companies going bankrupt, and having experienced trouble in these areas over the past years, building trust needs to be a fundamental component of any travel advertiser's campaign. But what has changed is that the longer tail consideration phase has become increasingly important through the rise of research importance. Therefore, the need for a full funnel connected strategy is more crucial now than ever. So to sum this up, it's about leveraging your brand identity to build consumer trust, future-proofing for the long term by deploying effective use of short and long-term activation strategies to accelerate growth. We have planning principles to help you do this, closely mirroring the 3 core components: brand, reassurance, and sales. First, we're going to have a look at cutting through to inspire. This is all about driving critical reach and scale in order to cut through the clutter and generate attention, focusing on building mental availability and brand salience. The second principle is connect and reassure. Capture the attention of audiences who matter most to you, using signal-based planning tactics to address varying need states. And finally, capture that pent-up demand and drive action with high-value audiences who are close to converting. So let's get started and let's have a closer look at the first principle, cut through to inspire. Branding plays a critical part in achieving your strategic objectives. You know that. Investing in long-term brand building communication and developing emotional connections with your customers impacts consideration and purchase intent. As we just saw, 76% of people who are interested in traveling are looking at longer-term booking, and therefore going to be the audiences who end up enabling you to grow your market share long-term. So how can you reach them effectively? Since the start of the pandemic, we see a strong increase from consumers looking for help and travel inspiration in order to decide where they should go. And as Solomon showed us earlier, travelers certainly come to YouTube to get this help and fulfill their need for travel inspiration. But that's not the only reason they come. On YouTube, travelers engage across the full funnel, all the way to conversion. They might take a virtual tour of a hotel or check out the details of a local experience, or maybe watch informational videos with everything from best time of year to go, the best time to book, the most comfortable planes, how to pack, etc., etc. For your best customers, the travelers who spend the most, 74% say that YouTube ads and content helps them to decide which travel brands to book with. And in fact, YouTube's South African penetration enables you to efficiently reach audiences at scale. With over 25 million reach of the South African adult population and an audience of 14 million travel enthusiasts, which is actually half of these YouTube users, YouTube is the most visited streaming service in South Africa. And unlike TV, with YouTube, you can go beyond the demographics with various affinity audiences that build reach, minimize wastage, and ensure you get the strongest return for your investment. But scale is only part of the awareness and brand building story. We've talked about cut-through and attention, and the good news is that YouTube delivers both. YouTube is the most viewable online destination. 95% of YouTube ads are viewable. That's 29 percentage points stronger than industry benchmarks, according to the MRC. And 95% of those videos are critically viewed with sound on. As marketeers, you're acutely aware of the power of sonic branding. It's critical for capturing attention and keeping it. We've also seen our watch time increase 27% year over year. YouTube viewers are also leaned in, watching more content for longer lengths of time. When we zero in on the category, we've seen a 23% increase in March 2021 of the content featuring beaches and islands. All of this is why people pay nearly twice as much attention to YouTube versus other social platforms. In order to build this attentive reach at scale, we recommend a combination of TrueView for Reach and non-skippable ads on YouTube. TrueView for Reach is our skippable format that is optimized to deliver more impressions and drive greater reach cross-device, including those connected TVs. In addition, non-skippable ads deliver your message fully in 15 or 20 seconds that can't be skipped. TrueView for Reach and non-skip formats use different buying types, and when combined, this leads to higher brand awareness lifts, lower costs per completed view, and a 10% lower CPM compared to standalone formats. Also, complement video reach campaigns with CPM must-haves to coincide with your blend search moments, like Easter, which is coming up now, or for the Christmas and New Year's peaks that the industry manager shared with you for all our key markets, Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa. CPM must-have is really an unmissable format, which offers you customizable reach across YouTube's home feed audience, a native canvas on the YouTube homepage, driving mass reach and awareness on South Africa's #1 video streaming service. It strongly drives ad recall and purchase intent lifts. Now that we are set up to achieve attentive reach and brand awareness, let's have a look at our second principle, connect and reassure. We know that consideration lifts occur as a result of increased watch time or time spent with your brand. Brands in a consumer's initial consideration set are 3 times more likely to be purchased than brands that are not. And users are 2.1 times more likely to consider a brand they spend time with. Therefore, we know why consideration is important. The research phase is critical now more than ever. And that is because there's never been a more messy middle. For those who are tentatively open to travel, it's still a complete minefield to navigate. Destination planning is no longer an inspirational, aspirational, joyful experience. It actually becomes pretty frustrating to trawl through incredible places, but then you have to sense check or reference COVID rates, vaccine rates, test and isolation requirements. There's a ton more friction in here in that process than there used to be. Second, obviously, safety concerns are still very much front of mind. Even with a COVID-secure destination, safety and hygiene remain key barriers towards a cautiously optimistic traveler taking action. And finally, we know that for many travelers, the memory of having to claw money back from cancelled or rearranged trips is still very fresh. It's critical to address these users as they were the ones who had the confidence to book during COVID, but felt stunned. So the goal for you is to be in the set of brands users are considering and to make the messy middle easier for them. How can you do that? First, with signals-based planning. Capture real interest and intent by using the power of Google search data to build robust and rich audiences to focus on and connect with. Secondly, then redistribute your audience strategy to match the relevant audience segment to best placed video formats to drive consideration. Let's have a look of how this could look like. Here you can see how different audiences map against usage and view-through rate. For the demo-led mass audience approach, we know YouTube usage is high and view-through rate is strong. However, view-through rate improves further when you start to build an affinity and in-market audiences using Google data. As you can see, it's the in-market audiences who are driving that high view-through rate along with affinity audiences. Therefore, you need to make sure to include them in your targeting. Given that the connect and reassure principle is all about driving consideration and addressing need states and barriers, we should actually be focusing on using these audiences with our consideration-focused video formats versus using them solely to drive action. And we do have the perfect format to help you connect and reassure. leveraging sophisticated target capabilities to zero in on those who need to hear your messages. TrueView InStream leverages Google's affinity and in-market targeting to find audiences who are engaged and leaned in. Plus, you only pay for engagement, either when a user watches 30 seconds of your video or got to the end of your ad, whichever comes first. This is actually our consistently strongest format to drive consideration lifts. In addition, meet the user when they are in a discovery mindset. Our discovery ads are highly visual and leverage the same AI targeting to reach consumers across Gmail, Google Home, and YouTube. But with YouTube, there's also massive opportunity to capture existing demand and drive action. We often hear the misconception that YouTube is a brand building only platform, but that's not the case. When we look at the messy middle in context of Google platforms, we see that YouTube and search have a vital and often inextricably linked role to play in decision making. I'm sure most of us, definitely me, use search when purchasing online and have an intrinsic understanding about its role. However, video on YouTube also plays a major role, with 80% of people saying they typically switch between online search and video when researching products to buy. 90% of people say they discover new products on YouTube, and 2 out of 3 shoppers say that they have purchased products that they discovered on YouTube. In addition, YouTube ads also result in an increase of search performance. We see an 8% conversion lift with a 4% lower CPA on search if YouTube is integrated in your marketing mix. The best part is you can perfectly orchestrate search and YouTube by using keywords from both platforms to power YouTube ads. With custom audiences, you can capture leads that begin on Google search and connect with users that search specific keywords on YouTube. To now bring it all home and drive conversions, we have a robust solution that converts consumers at their trigger point, video action campaigns. This format is best used with custom audiences, similar audiences, and retargeting lists to prompt action. And it uses powerful AI that optimizes towards site actions while still driving brand metrics. Video action campaigns are the evolution of TrueView for Action and were built to drive even more results. They deliver over 20% more conversions per dollar than TrueView for Action, and they generate a 200% higher conversion rate than standard TrueView in-stream ads. I know this was a lot of information, and you probably need some time to digest it. To make this a bit easier for you, I summarized the key actions you should take now to be prepared for 2022 and to leverage the upcoming Easter peak. First, use TrueView for reach and non-skips to generate reach and build trust and brand awareness. In addition, use must-haves for peak moments, such as Easter. Second, build consideration with TrueView and Discovery to reconnect and assure users. Expand your targeting to include in-market and affinity audiences at this stage. Third, use always-on video action campaigns, including remarketing, to capture existing demand beyond search and drive conversions. And last but not least, make sure to follow campaign best practices to maximize existing campaign performance. That was it from my side. I will hand over now to Lulupo, who will guide you through how Google can support you.
Thank you very much, Svenja. Thank you for being with us morning into the afternoon, everyone. Hope it has been very insightful. From what we've presented today, we started off with Lena opening us with, the possibilities of travel. Things are opening up, the skies are a bit clearer, and we see that this is a trend that's continuously growing. And then we went into understanding the new world of travel when it comes to marketing insights and user behavior. And this was covered by Solomon, myself, Adim, and Regina, especially when and deep diving as well into the various markets in SSA. Then we spoke about leveraging the opportunities, capturing demand with search, which was handled by Mark, and then creating the demand with video, which was handled by Svenja. Now I will be going into how we can partner with you for success, how Google can partner and support you for success. Oh, sorry. Okay. So at Google, we're able to provide travel trends and data insights to facilitate campaign planning. Most of us on the joining us today would have some form of relationship with either one of us in the three various markets we've spoken about, and we're here to help provide more trends, data insights to facilitate campaign planning, pre-planning, post-planning reporting, and during campaign optimization. So we're also here and available to support with campaign planning and optimizations. I've already mentioned that. Also, when it comes to creative excellence review and optimizations, and we have creative sessions, and we're able to provide best cases and best use cases and required formats based on the strategies we're implementing with our products, etc. Those are things we're able to provide to every one of you during the planning of your campaigns. Also, we have measurement support, so tracking, analytics, and how are your campaigns faring? How are you able to meet your KPIs based on the strategies you have implemented, etc. To further add on to this, we have external tools that you can use to plan your campaigns as well, or plan your strategies, your online strategies and digital strategies. And the first will be Trends at Google, trendsgoogle.com. And this is an external tool available for everyone. And then we have the Market Finder Think with Google as well, which is available to everyone. I'd like to use this opportunity to thank everyone for joining us. We're very excited to be able to do our first SSA travel event post-COVID, and hopefully we'll be coming back with more events like this as well in the future. We will also be following up with some content just to ensure that we're able to have recall if necessary, and we'll also be sharing some of the consumer insights that we had shared per market, just to give you a bit more deep dive analysis into the markets and how travelers are planning for their travel in 2022. Thank you very much for joining us, and yes, have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.